All right, so we're starting this Desmos activity, and so you're just using the code that I sent out through Remind. Once you click on that link, it asks you to enter your name. A good idea to create an account if you haven't already done so, so that if you need to take a break, you can pick up where you left off at some later time. All right, so I've already done that, so I don't need to do it. But you might want to take the time and create a Desmos account if you haven't already done so. So I'm just going to hit go and work my way through the activity. So you see in the first exercise it says use the construct menu to draw a circle using point C for the center, and so that point B is on the circle. So the construct menu is right down here, so you click on construct, select the circle tool. In order to draw a circle, the first thing that you have to do is identify the center. So you click, and then once you start dragging away from that center, so I click the one time, drag away from the center, I keep dragging until I lock in. You see that floating point on the circumference of the circle? I keep going until I lock in on point B, then I click again. And then once I do that, you see I have this extra floating point. I can just hit the select arrow, and that'll just get me out of accidentally creating another circle. All right, so I can hit the double down arrow here, and that'll put the construct menu away, and mission accomplished. We now have a circle centered around C where B is on the circumference. All right, so now we hit the next tab, and that brings us over to the next assignment. So copy segment BA to make segment CD so that segment CD is congruent, as in the same size as BA. You'll need to click on the More Tools button and select the compass tool to copy the radius of circle B and then make circle C. Once circle C is constructed, you can construct segment CD anywhere in circle C. You need to hit the back arrow to construct the segment CD. All right, and then the follow-up question. So we're going to hit construct. So again, more tools, and you see we have the option for compass. Now it says choose a segment radius. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose that, and you see what it did was it basically replicated the circle. Now what I can do now at this point is just move that floating point so that it's centered at C. And then once I do that, I now have a duplicate circle around C as the circle around B. All right. So then I'm going to choose the point function. So I hit the back arrow, choose a point function, and anywhere I want on the circumference of C, the circle C, I can plot a point. All right. When I use the segment tool from C to that point, since all radii in a circle are congruent, I now have created a segment that I know must be congruent to BA or AB. All right. So then I want to name it. So I did that probably a little too quickly. So I click the select, then click on the actual point, and then you'll see the one object is selected. I want to label it. It automatically labeled it D because A, B, and C were already used, and it goes alphabetically. But you can override that and call it whatever you want. All right. But that's what I wanted, so we're good to go. All right. So click anywhere, and it brings it, in the open field, and it brings you back to the main menu. And then you could hit the double down arrow, and then you have a follow-up question. And if you kind of followed along with my justification for doing this to begin with, you already know the answer to this question. All right, so I'm going to hit next and move on to the next one. So the first challenge, construct CD starting with point C below, so you can see C is here, so that it's equal to 3 times AB. So I'll get you started with this one, but I won't complete it for you. All right, so we know how to construct a segment now. All right, we figured that out, or we learned that in the last exercise. All right, so what we can do is go to More Tools, select Compass, and now what we've done is we've guaranteed that we have a circle whose radius is equivalent to AB. So no matter where I draw that circle, I'm going to center it around C. I now have a segment that's equivalent in length to whatever AB is. So I'm going to plot a point right on that intersection. I'll select that point, and label it D. All right, so we have, oh, actually, we don't want to label that D because the final product should be D. So I'm actually going to leave that label list. All right, so we have a segment. What I'm going to do, and this is kind of a nifty little trick, I'm going to create a new segment going from C to that new point. All right, and what we can do, and this is optional, but what we can do is we could actually hide this line. So when I click on it and go to more tools, I'm sorry, when you click on it, it's right there. It's immediate. It says hide. Right? I can actually hide the line, and then I can copy this line segment over. But I think it's probably the better idea to keep reproducing this line segment. So back to the compass tool, click on it, recenter. All right, I'm going to draw a new line segment going from here through this point and then over. So now it's twice the length. And then I'm just going to do it again. All right, and I can even go back to A if I want. All right, I'll go back to AB with my compass tool just to guarantee that I'm looking at the same length of circle. All right, so undo that because I clicked too early. Compass tool, draw it, and then plop it down right here. Now I can draw the line segment. And you could have left that original line there. I just didn't want to because I felt like it would be distracting. All right. So now what I was doing before, I'm going to click on that point. I'm going to label it. Now I'm calling it D. All right. Okay, so I said I would get you started on this one, and I ended up doing the whole thing for you. So you're welcome. Use the more points, more tools menu to construct the midpoint of PQ. So we label the midpoint M, and then construct a perpendicular bisector through that. Right. So construct. We have more tools. See an option for a midpoint. So just click anywhere, and then you'll have your midpoint. All right. Now, if you want to use a perpendicular bisector, you'll see that there's a perpendicular tool. All right. So you just have to go into the more tools menu. So you can see here that you got to select a line and then a point. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click the line and then the point, and then it establishes the perpendicular line. And it's definitely a bisector because we have it going through the midpoint first.